We sit in a comfortable meditation posture and close the eyes. Put your attendance on the silence that is always there deep in the mind. Connect with that deep inner silence. This is your connection to Parama Jyoti, consciousness and effulgence of Krishna. You are this silent witness. Now listen to the words of the Yoga Vashishta. Book 5, Chapter 29. Continuing with verse 43. These visible sighs, O Rama, are as numerous as they are temptations to the soul. They appear as even and charming as a distant mountain, but prove to be rough and rugged as you approach it. Restrain your mind in the cavity of your heart from its pursuit of perishable objects of enjoyment, either in this life or in the next, which are so alluring to all men of ordinary sense. Know yourself to be identical with consciousness, which shines like the sun throughout the universe and illuminates every object in nature without distinction or partiality. Know yourself, Almighty Brahma, to be infinite spirit and the transcendent soul of all bodies that has manifested itself in manifold forms that are like the bodies of the internal intellect. Know your soul to be like a thread passing through and interwoven with everything in existence, like a string connecting all the links of creations, like so many gems of a necklace or the heads of a rosary. Know yourself as the unborn and embodied soul of Viraj, the resplendent Brahma, which is never born and never dies. Never fall into the mistake of thinking pure consciousness is subject to birth or death. Know your desires are the causes of your birth, life, death, and diseases. This is a very factual statement about how the individual karmic traces are responsible for everything that happens in human life. underlying all these individual karmic traces, we have the divine karmic traces. And even the divine karmic traces create the model for birth and death. They create the model for human existence. All must be balanced and transcended. This is why we're here. This is the only purpose of human existence, is to identify and balance individual karmic traces and then ultimately transcend even divine karmic traces. All around us is pure illusion. There is nothing real here. Therefore, shun your desire of enjoyment. And this is spontaneously accomplished when we connect with the silent witness. We don't have to do anything except become the silent witness. That will accomplish everything. Enjoy all things in the manner of the all-witnessing consciousness of the silent witness. If you remain in the everlasting light of the sun of your consciousness, the effulgence of Krishna, you will come to find the phenomenal world to be only a phantom of your dream as the creator of this universe. Never regret or sorrow for anything. Do not think of pleasures or pains which do not affect your soul. You are pure consciousness and the all-pervading soul which manifests itself in everything. Know that what is desirable are your evils, and the undesirable, transcending, staying beyond, is your good. Therefore, shun the former by your continued practice of the latter. Very simple. By forsaking your ideas of desirable and undesirable, you will develop a habit of mentally ceasing desires. We currently have a habit of thinking. This habit is fueled by the individual karmic traces. As we begin balancing the individual karmic traces, we have to develop a habit of mentally ceasing desires. A habit of always remaining established in the silent witness. When the habit takes a deep root in your heart, you no longer have to be reborn in the world. retract your mind from everything, to which it runs like a boy after vain, bright trinkets. Settle your mind in yourself for your own good. Thus, by using your best efforts to restrain your mind, and also by your habit of self-control, remaining established in the silent witness, you will subdue the rampant elephant of your mind and ultimately reach your highest bliss. Do not become like ignorant fools who believe their bodies are their chief good, and who are infatuated by false reasoning and infidelity, deluded by impostors to gratify their sensual desires. What man is more ignorant in this world and more subject to its evils than one who derives his spiritual knowledge from one who smatters in theology and relies on the dogmas of pretenders and fake philosophers? Dispel the cloud of false reasoning from the atmosphere of your mind by the hurricane of right reasoning, which drives all darkness before it. You cannot be said to have right reasoning until you come to the light and sight of the soul, both by your own effort and by grace of the Supreme Spirit. Neither the Vedas, nor Vedanta, nor the science of logic, or any other scripture can give you any light of the soul unless it appears of itself within you. It is by cultivating yourself, aided by my instructions and divine grace, that you have gained your perfect knowledge and appear to rest yourself in the Supreme Spirit. There are three ways in which you can come to spiritual light. First, a lack of knowledge of duality. Then, the brightness of your intellectual light by the grace of God. And third, the wide extent of your knowledge derived from my instructions. You are now free of your mental maladies. You have become sound by abandonment of your desires, by removal of your doubts and errors, and by forsaking the mist of your fondness for external objects. O Rama, as you get rid of the errors of your understanding, so you advance by degrees in gaining your knowledge, in cherishing your resignation, in destroying your defects, in imbibing the bliss of ecstasy, in wandering with exultation, and in elevating your soul to the sixth sphere. But all this is not enough unless you attain Brahma itself. So Vasishtha makes a very clear and distinct statement that until we attain Brahman consciousness, moksha level 4. All of our enlightenment is nothing. Because we will fall back into samsara again and again, and we all have already fallen back again and again. Because we have not reached that highest state of moksha in this universe. So let us accomplish it in this lifetime. Chapter 30, the story of Prahlad. Narasimha destroys Hiranyakshipu and the age of demons. Vasishtha continued. Ram listened to the instructive story of Prahlad, the lord of demons who became a spiritual adept by his own intuition. There was a mighty demon in the infernal regions named Hiranyakshipu. He was as valiant as Vishnu himself and had expelled the gods and demigods from their abodes. He mastered all the treasures of the world and wrested its possessions from the hands of Vishnu. It was like a swan encroaching upon a bee on the large leaves of a lotus. Hiranyakshipu defeated the Deva gods and the Asura demons and ruled over the whole earth. Like an elephant masters a lotus bed by chasing the swans away. The Lord of Asuras, having usurped the monarchy of the three worlds, had many sons in the course of time, as spring brings forth the shoots of trees. These children grew up to manhood in time with the display of their courageous powers and prowess. Like so many brilliant suns, they stretched their 1,000 rays on all sides of the earth and sky. The eldest, Prahlad, became the regent, just as Vishnu's Kaustubha diamond is preeminent among all precious gems. Hiranyakshipu delighted exceedingly in his fortunate son Prahlad, like the year rejoices in the flowering time of spring. Supported by his son on one hand and possessed of his force and treasures on the other, Hiranyakshipu became puffed up with his pride, like a swollen elephant, emitting foam from its triangular mouth. Shining with his luster and elated by his pride, he dried and drew up the moisture of the earth by his unbearable taxation. Like the all-destroying suns of universal dissolution, parch the world by their rays. His conduct annoyed the gods, the sun, and the moon, just as the behavior of a naughty boy becomes unbearable to his fellow comrades. They all applied to Brahma to destroy this archdemon because he repeated the misbehaviors of the wicked are unbearable to the good and great. It was then that lotus-like Narasimha clattered his nails resembling the tusks of an elephant and thundered loudly like the rumbling noise of the regent elephants of all the quarters of heaven fills concave world on its last doomsday. Narasimha's tusk-like nails and teeth glittered like lightning flashing in the sky. The radiance of his enemies filled the hollow sphere of heaven with curling flames of living fire. The sides and caves of mountains presented a fearful aspect. Huge trees were shaken by a tremendous tempest that rent the skies and tore the roof of heaven. He emitted gusts of wind from his mouth and entrails, which drove the mountains before them. His eyeballs flashed with the living fire of his rage, which was about to consume the world. His shining mane shook with the glare of sunbeams. The pores of the hairs on his body emitted sparks of fire, like the craters of a volcano. Mountains everywhere shook with a tremendous shaking, and the whole body of Narasimha shot forth a variety of arms in every direction. Vishnu, in his Narasimha form of half man and half lion, killed a gigantic demon by goring him with his tusks, like an elephant goring the body of a horse, with a grating sound. The population of the demon Hell City was burnt down by gushing fire from his eyeballs, which burned like the all-devouring conflagration of the last doomsday. The breath of his nostrils drove everything before it like a hurricane. The clapping of his arms sounded like great waves crashing on hollow shores. Demons fled before him like moths from burning fire. They became extinct as extinguished lamps at the blazing light of the day. Now will continue established as the silent witness and perform the Trimana Sanyama process on the esoteric Mahamantra to balance all karmic traces that have been touched on by today's reading. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. Jai Guru Jai.